All right, a couple months ago, we saw the Mevo Gen 2. Now, the biggest question I got about this device, are we going to be able to add face impact? Are we going to be able to add the Pro package? Just like we did with the Mevo Plus, so you can get all the data, all the specs, the club path, face, angle of attack, all that good stuff. Wasn't sure at the time, wasn't sure where FlightScope was going to go with this device, but they have announced that they are allowing you to get an upgrade for face impact and for your Pro package. So starting today, you can do that. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you that are watching this channel, you're gonna know what that means, that this basically makes this an a la carte launch monitor where, hey, if you just want some simulation, things like that, you can pay a little bit of a lower price. If you wanna upgrade or add features later, maybe it's not in your budget now, but you can add them later, that's something you can do with this device. All right, so the next question I'm gonna get, how accurate is it? Well, since a lot of you don't trust me in what I say, figured we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna go all out. I happen, just be walking down the street and we just happen to come across one of these guys, this Trackman 4. And you know what? Let's do it. We're gonna just put them through the paces. How does this launch monitor at a fraction of the price compare to the gold standard you would see on the PGA Tour? Okay, so let me explain how we're gonna do this test here. I would love to hit shots simultaneously, but we're gonna run into one problem here. And we didn't have this in the past with the Mevo Plus because the Mevo Plus was horizontal. I could still get good reads with the Trackman having the Mevo Plus sitting in front. But because this is vertical, I don't actually get reads all the time. So unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to test them. If I wanna set the devices up correctly and get them calibrated correctly, which is really important in a test like this, we're not gonna be able to hit them side by side and hit the same shots. But we're gonna rely on the fact that I am a pretty good ball striker. I am a 0 handicap, all right? An actual 0, I actually keep that. But we're gonna rely on that to see if we can get just an idea. Is it in the ballpark as we go? We'll go Trackman first. We're gonna set this guy up. And obviously one of the big differences you'll see that you're paying for, setup slightly easier with this guy, but we're all good to go there. And let's fire it up. Yep, so first off, we're gonna hit 7 irons. We'll do 7 iron, we'll do a driver, 2 clubs that people wanna know. So, again, I'm not a robot, but we'll do our best. Kinda wish I could swing them all like that. A little pull maybe. Ooh, I lost that one a little right. And that's the 7 iron there. Unfortunately, that's pretty correct, getting a little onto that toe side. So, all right, driver it is. And 57, I kind of, not bad for the first one. There we go. A bad swing, little bit of a, should be a little bit of like a push fade there. Slightly, if we look at those numbers. And we can tell, let's bring up our tracer there. You can see our impact location. We'll go ahead, let's do it again. Okay. So you can see my path with the driver. I tend to hit more of a little fade. I'm trying to work on that, but path's gonna move a little left because of ball position, trying to hit up on it, all that good stuff. And there we go. See, and you can see those impact locations. That one I definitely pulled a little bit. Got that one going a little hot. So there we go, 3 drivers. Let's go ahead, let's take a look at our table, just so you can see those numbers again. You can see the driver, 156 ball speed, 106-ish on the club. Let's see, my smash, pretty good, 148. I'll take that. Just gotta swing a little faster, and then you can see launch angle is launching a little low there. Yeah, there we go. Spin rate's pretty good on that, 24 to 2500. And then we'll go. So, all right, so there's our numbers with Trackman. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's fire up the flight scope. All right, so right away, one thing I'm gonna tell people that are using this at home, okay? It is so important that you get this set up correctly. One of the things you're getting, so I have this with my Flight Scope X3C, which is awesome, but something with a Trackman, you are paying for a little bit where they can actually process a little bit where the ball is being hit from. With these devices, get a tape measure, especially if you're looking at your data, get a spot where you know how far it's set up, because we're gonna tell it when we go into the app where this device is set. So can't stress that enough, how important that is when we are doing this. So if we're gonna compare data, we need to make sure that this is set up properly. Guy, 8 feet. Down there. Excuse me, Trackman. Obviously, auto leveling also helps. All right, so we got our 8 feet. Gonna get this guy set. Love the kickstand feature. And my ground is pretty level. Something we did in here over the summertime. And now it's just getting this guy set. This is a beta version of this software, okay? So FlightScope gave me this just about 2 days before it's released. You will see me using this on the phone version just because this is a beta version of the app, okay? So obviously there could be some bugs in it, whatever, stuff that's being tested. So far, so good for me, but just keep that in mind as we go through this. We already did target alignment, settings, 8 feet, we're good there. We are at sea level, that is what I was at on the device, on Trackman. So we'll keep that the same, even though we're just really looking at the same stuff. And then one thing we'll check, we are on an RCT ball here, okay? So RCT ball is being used, and let's go ahead and let's give it a go here, okay? All right, so let's go 7-iron first. I'll keep the Trackman data up on the screen so we can do a little comparison as we go. So 7-iron, again, I'm not a robot, I'm gonna do my best. Okay, there we go, hit that one pretty good. So let's just go 169 on the carry there. Spin rate 6,100. Launch came out at 20. Let's see, launch on the other ones were 18 on, so we're about 1.5 degrees, 1 degree maybe. When we're looking at the devices, they do measure slightly different. They measure slightly different in where they're taking these numbers in. So one of the big differences with a Flight Scope versus a Trackman is Flight Scope reads that very first touch of the golf ball. Trackman reads at the max deformation of the golf ball. So that's after you've hit it and you compress the ball and then it goes. So just something to keep in mind here. We should see slight differences. So you would see the same thing with a quad, right? A quad measures different than both of these devices. Hit that good, but it's fading. That was right. All right, so I do have our data here. Let's go ahead, let's take a look at it. So on the screen, I'll have Trackman. I've got the Flight Scope here on the phone. Let's go 7-irons first. So you can see all the 7-irons down here. So distance-wise, you can see Trackman. I'm gonna look at this average column. We've got the averages on both. So we're getting 163 versus we are getting 170 in the air with a 7-iron. That's the number I really care about. I personally don't really care about the rollout that much. I just don't. I care about where the ball lands. So we got that. That's pretty good. Flight Scope a little bit juiced. was the second shots I hit, possibly got a little more loose, a little more warmed up, because you'll see too the club speed was a little higher, 86.7 versus 90 on this guy. Another thing I want to look at, let's look at our spin rates. So I did hit a couple of the 7-irons thin with the thin-ish, like a groove low with the 7-iron on the flight scope. So we're getting 51.91 on that spin reading. If I'm being honest, that makes sense. That's the number one thing I want, is I want numbers that make sense to what I'm doing. If I hit it thin, I want to see spin rates drop. Sometimes you could see it possibly go up, but not the way I was hitting it, in my opinion. I would think it would go down a little bit. But yeah, I would think I would want to see that go down. And then from there, let's look at our low point. Okay, we're looking at low point, so I got to come down this way. Low point, 3.7 after the ball. We are 3.5 after the ball on Trackman. Let's look at the vertical swing plane. We don't actually want to look at that. That one I don't really worry about too much, but you do have it on this. That's pretty sweet. Didn't even think about that one. Let's look at horizontal swing plane. That's one I look at all the time. So on Trackman, it's called swing direction as you go. So swing direction would be right here. So my swing direction is 1.4 left. On Trackman, negative is left. And on Flight Scope, they just give you the letter. So 1.4 left versus 1.4 left. So we're dead on with that one. Horizontal swing plane or swing direction is basically the overall direction of your swing without angle of attack. Okay, so that would explain why I'm hitting maybe some fades and stuff. That's something for me as somebody that wants to draw the ball. I would actually work on that. Let's keep on going. What else do we want to look at? Land angle. So that's going to be descent angle as we go. Ball angle. So descent 43.9, 47 on Trackman. Again, I hit some of those shots a little bit on the thin side. Again, about a groove low on probably 2 of the 3, I think it was. So that'll happen. Again, I'm not a robot. But as we go through, dynamic loft 23. Let's take a look at your club. So club number, let's go ahead and find that. Club angle, dynamic loft 25 on the Flight Scope. So we're fairly close there, a little bit, about 2 degrees off. And from there, again, that could be a little bit something to do with how it reads differently. You know, that's, again, something to be expected slightly. And then we go to club path. That's another big one. So you can see I'm swinging 1 to the right. This will explain a little bit, but it's saying 1.3 to the right. Big one's going to be face to target. When you look at face angle, I was 0.3 to the right versus I was face to target 3.1 to the right on Flight Scope. So we're seeing those shots go a little bit more to the right. Let's jump into the driver numbers as we go. So again, top row on this Flight Scope one, and then we're going to look at these averages here. 253 carry on Flight Scope, 252. So on Trackman, let's look at the low point. That's a huge one with the driver, in my opinion. 0.7 behind on Flight Scope. That's what the negative means. And 0.8 behind on Trackman. Let's look at some dynamic loft. Actually, I just want to look at that. 12.7 on Flight Scope. We got 10.8 on Trackman. So doing pretty good. Let's look at our club path. Had me at 1.4 to the right. I was trying to hit more of a draw. I was 1.3 to the left with Trackman. Again, that could be slight difference in how it's reading because you're reading later in the strike on Trackman. That would have an effect on that number. But you're within, that's about 3 degrees off. But again, that could just be me as well trying to make some changes. Let's look at smash factor, 1.43. Again, I think that one might be a little low. I don't know. I felt like I hit them okay. 148 on Trackman, but not too shabby as we go. And then spin rates 28.73 versus 24.84 as the average on Trackman. So, all right, so what do you think? I'd love to hear what you think down in the comments below. Is it worth the upgrade as you're going through to improve your game? My personal opinion, yes. Would you be able to get better with this data, with these numbers? You have everything you need to work on your game understand how to control the ball flight. If you're making swing changes, have an idea of what that's going to do to the golf ball, which is ultimately what you're trying to learn. Now, is this something where, hey, if you're somebody that's a professional fitter, you're a professional teacher, and you're trying to work with really, really high level players, I would probably say you would need something with a little bit more data, especially on the fitting side. I would want a little bit more data as we're doing those fittings, but you could actually get an idea of where I think you get started for sure. But if you're really trying to dial it in, I would still like to have my X3C for that, because there are a couple other numbers I like to use. And then also, it's a little bit easier to go out on course with that device just from a setup standpoint that I could do that. So those are things that I use regularly. But where would a Mevo Gen 2 for me fit in? Well, Skills app, we still get that. We still have some on-course ability that is easy to set up on the fly. I would use it in a heartbeat for that and let my students start seeing how they can hit shots for that. But also just having somebody that's practicing off to the side, hey, let's go work on this. I'd have no reservations about throwing it out there with that data. So really, really cool stuff. It's awesome, again, when we start thinking about how lucky we are that things like this are so inexpensive now that we can have it available to the masses. So nowadays, I notice in my lessons, people come in much more informed, understanding what they need to work on, and then we can actually get to it and get to working on making those fixes. And then more importantly, when they go practice, they can monitor these things as they're going through. So really cool stuff. Would love to hear your thoughts about it. And again, I will link down below where you can go get this. If you use the link, it does help out the channel, and they do have some specials going on that you would want to check out. So it's a great time to be picking this up, especially as the holidays are approaching. But again, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We will see you in the next one. Peace.